Imagine having anxiety and depression as a result, in part because of your drinking, and then all of a sudden you stop drinking and the anxiety and depression is gone. Imagine sleeping poorly for much of your adult life. You stop drinking and then all of a sudden your sleep becomes phenomenal. Imagine having a pretty serious health concern with your feet. In fact, the doctor is telling you that you've got some problems with your feet and maybe they're not going to work anymore if you continue along this path with your drinking. And then you stop drinking and suddenly the problem goes away. That is what we're going to learn more about today with our conversation with a graduating Project 90 client by the name of Bill Cunningham, who is 62. He's a retired federal agent from Eau Claire in Wisconsin. He's a husband and a father of one daughter, and he joins us now. Bill, great to have you with us, sir.
Thank you for letting me be here. It's I just first want to say Project 90 saved my life. And I don't say that, I say that in total honesty. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Well, tell us a little bit about the life that needed saving. Give us a bit of context about you, where you're from, what you do, and what life was like, I guess before you got power over your drinking habits.
Sure. And jump in whenever you want, just if I ramble too much. I started drinking at a very young age. I had my first beer when I was 12 years old. My baseball coach gave it to me for washing his car. That's not what caused me to be a drinker. I would have been a drinker anyways, but I never had to develop a taste for beer. I loved the very first one I ever had. I loved the buzz. And then I was probably your typical Midwest drinker. I would party in high school on the weekends. I've always been a beer drinker, so that's what I drank. And then in college, we always partied on the weekends and occasionally, well, not occasionally, probably always during the week, once or twice. But I just assumed that that's what everybody does. And it was fun. I be honest with you, I totally enjoyed it. Once I got into my career as a federal agent, kind of slowed down a little bit as far as the drinking, mainly because, with a career, you're just too busy to drink. And I don't know. I just had too much going on. So my drinking probably in my 20s till about mid 40s would have been maybe what I'd call heavy social drinking. I suppose if I was diagnosed by somebody, they probably would have said I was an alcoholic more than likely, because I always would drink on the weekends. We occasionally would drink during the week. Like if we had a training thing for work, we'd drink afterwards. In law enforcement, drinking's it's part of the culture, probably like a lot of other careers. But it wasn't, I never thought it was bad. I was a health nut, and I still am. Kind of seems weird to be a health nut and also be putting this poison, never realizing what this stuff was doing to me. But I was able to manage. I didn't miss work. I didn't drink at work. Didn't do any of that kind of stuff. So I guess, I was able to kind of get by. I do remember about my mid 40s, my wife and I and daughter and some other people were on vacation in Jamaica. And whenever we'd go to those kind of places, it was drinks on for spring break, and drank the whole weekend, and got back. And my wife kind of took me aside and said, I think you got a drinking problem. I think you're drinking too much. And I kind of knew it. I didn't get mad at her because I sort of knew what she was saying. And like I said, that was like around age 45 or so. And that's when I started trying to control my drinking, trying to do moderation. I really became a binge drinker. I would drink for maybe 3 months straight, and then maybe 6 to 9 months, because I was competing in bodybuilding and that kind of stuff. I wouldn't drink, so I think I was healthy anyways. And trying to do moderation, and it wasn't working. When I retired at age 50, and the reason I retired, you get full retirement when you're in federal law enforcement at that age. I wanted to spend time with my daughter. She was just getting into high school, and she was playing tennis. And so I wanted to be a part of her life and not be traveling all over the place. So my first 2 years of retirement became one big drinking blitz. I would venture to say I might have drank every single night, but there might have been some nights in there that I didn't. Then I realized, okay, this is really getting bad. So I decided to get a part-time job just to get me so I wouldn't be so bored. Started CrossFit coaching and became a personal trainer. And my drinking slowed down a little bit just because I had to be present for my clients and for coaching classes. But I was living a lie. I would be hungover and talking to my clients, and a lot of them were drinkers too. And I always try to advise them, hey, if you really want to get in shape, you got to quit drinking. At the same time, I'm hungover. Kind of embarrassing now that I think about it. After about 5 years of doing that, I decided, okay, I'm going to go full retirement, want to be able to travel and stuff. And that was about early 2019. I did my last bodybuilding contest in May of 2019, and then the drinking took over. And that's when the bad parts of my drinking happened, where I started getting very depressed, horrible anxiety, which I had never had in my life. Started getting some tingling in my feet and that kind of stuff. And it got really, really bad the last 3 to 4 years. I tried doing moderation. It didn't work. Saw a counselor. He suggested that I try AA, which I wasn't opposed to. Seemed a little depressing to me maybe, but I didn't try it. Instead, I did a 2-week outpatient clinic that was kind of AA based. And I'm not bashing AA at all. I'm just saying that that's kind of what it was. And I hated it, hated every single minute of it. It was very depressing. And I actually quit about a week and a half in because I just couldn't do it. It just didn't resonate with me. I didn't like that. I don't know. Just kind of a negative feeling. And by pure luck, scrolling through Facebook, found you, put a like on there, didn't really do anything with it. And this was probably beginning of January of this year, 2023. And just, I would see them more and more and see them more and more. And I did dry January. Then I drank a couple times in February, and I had even though I didn't drink for 30 days in January, as soon as I drank, everything came back again. All the bad stuff, the anxiety, the depression, the neuropathy in my feet. It got really, really bad. Then about mid-February, had my last drink. It was on a Friday night, maybe a Saturday night. I'd have to look back. And I'm driving out to my hometown in Rapid City, South Dakota, to visit my aging parents. And I was trying not to drink, but I knew going back there was a huge trigger. All my drinking buddies are still back there. I planned on drinking, even though I was trying not to. And I listened. I'd never listened to podcasts before in my life. Didn't even know what they were. And you had mentioned something in one of the Facebook posts about podcasts. So I called my daughter because she understands that stuff because she's young. I'm an old 62-year-old dude who doesn't understand anything about technology. She told me how to do podcasts. It's a 10-hour drive. I hopped in my Jeep, myself and my dog, my golden doodle. My wife was still working, so she stayed back. And I listened to 8 hours out of the 10 hours of podcasts. Started with you, and I believe it was Coach V. And everything that I heard resonated with what I wanted in life. This was on a Sunday. Listened to, like I said, 8 out of 10 hours. The drive went so fast, I couldn't believe it. Got there on a Sunday. Monday and Tuesday, I'm trying not to drink. I'm not drinking. I'm doing pretty good. And all of a sudden that craving's coming. It was on a Wednesday and I could feel it. And I just called. I called them. I signed up to call Coach V. And we talked on a Wednesday. She hooked me up with James. We had a great conversation. And I told James, when he told me the cost and all that, it shocked me a little bit. I'm like, oh, geez, I don't know if I want to do that. And I said, I got to talk to my wife. Whenever we make a big financial purchase together in our entire married life, we've been married 38 years. I got lucky. I got married a rock star. I said, we have to talk about that together before I make that choice. And James is a little hesitant. He goes, you know what? 2% of the people who get off this call back to join. and the rest don't. He goes, if you get off this call, you're not going to join and you're going to keep drinking. And I told James, I said, James, I'm a man of my word. I promise you, whether or not I'm going to do this, whether I'm going to join Project 90 or not, I will call you back. Give me 15 minutes to talk to my wife. And he said, okay. Called my wife and she said, do it. Didn't even hesitate. I mean, I knew she would, but I just, you just have to share that stuff with your spouse. And I called James back and said, I'm aboard. Let's do this. Got all joined up and everything. And Coach V called me back later that day. And I, this is kind of the funny part, and the part where it shows how insightful and how good these coaches are, and what you're going to get out of P90. I said, Coach V, I said, hey, I'm in my hometown. I'm going to be driving to Arizona for the month of March, and I'm leaving in a couple days. I'm not going to be able to be on the calls, and I'm not going to be able to do the polos or any of that kind of stuff. And I said, I don't want to start on a bad note. I want to be able to get really involved. They said, so can I start on Monday, which is a couple days down the road? Knowing full well that I was planning on meeting my drinking buddy on Saturday to go bar hopping. She didn't know that. I did. And she said, no. She goes, you know what? I'm going to give you a little grace. Let's start today. This will be your first day of P90. And when you're ready to do the calls, once you get down to Arizona, we'll start up. And I was like, okay. Called my buddy and said, hey, I lied. I told him, I said, I'm heading down to Arizona today because I got to beat the weather. Didn't drink. And it's been great from then. So I'm sorry I talked too much, but I just wanted to kind of give you a little context.
No, it's great. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I'll just let you talk. It's like listening to a symphony, a beautiful song, the way that you share your story, Bill. So there's some things there to unpack I'd love to ask you about. And first of all, again, thank you for so candidly sharing your story, because I don't know if that felt easy or challenging, but, for people to open up to a whole bunch of strangers who are listening to this now on whether they're driving in their car, they're going for a run, and you're sharing, stuff that maybe probably doesn't feel like super fun subject matter at times, that does still really inspire people. So I just want to acknowledge you for that before I ask you a few questions here. So I'm curious about, well, first of all, just to clarify, what did you do as a federal agent? Like, whatever you can share on that. I'd just like to know, what was your kind of like day-to-day role, or what was your overall role as a federal agent?
Yeah, absolutely. And let me know if I get a little boring on that part of it. So I have a background in accounting, and I knew from the time I was a little kid I was going to be a federal agent, whether it was FBI, Treasury Department, DEA, whatever it was just my love, and I knew I was going to do it. So with an accounting background, I ended up in Department of Treasury Criminal Division, and I specialized in all financial crimes, be it from money laundering, violations of the Bank Secrecy Act, currency violations. I worked like high-level mafia kind of cases, and the very, very high-level drug dealers, like at the source. That's where all the money was coming in. Just to give you context on money laundering kind of cases that I worked. I didn't personally work the Bernie Madoff case, but that is the kind of cases we worked, a lot of Ponzi schemes and that type of thing. So yeah, it was all financial. For my job, it was both in the office, analyzing evidence, putting together reports. I was out interviewing people. I had to interview bank presidents, CEOs of places, all the way down to the street level drug dealer. And then did a lot of, I ran our undercover program. So it was some office work and some field work. I guess it'd probably be about 50-50.
Amazing. So interesting. Thank you for sharing that. When you said federal agent, I was so curious as to dig into that a little bit, but thank you. Appreciate that. And I noticed that you were sharing that along the way you experienced a few different bouts of anxiety and depression, and sometimes years apart. Why do you think that was? Like, why do you think anxiety and depression came up at certain times in your life, but wasn't there at other times?
Looking back, it's kind of hard to tell, but it really seems, because I was kind of more of a binge drinker, again, because of that fitness thing, and I try to quit drinking for 6 months, and then I drink for 6 months. I'm looking back. I'm thinking I had to do a lot with the alcohol in my system when I would drink. That for sure gave me depression. The anxiety part didn't really happen until about 2019, and that's when it just took off. That was all alcohol related, because the day I quit drinking for a good, like within a week or so, that was gone.
Isn't it fascinating? It's so fascinating, isn't it, that when we drink this particular substance, it heightens our anxiety, it heightens our depression. And as soon as we get rid of it, we almost instantaneously, in your case, about a week, it just disappears. It's fascinating.
And I thought alcohol was doing the opposite. Like, I thought it was supposed to chill me out, make me feel relaxed. And it did when I, that first hour or so. But then once I got the alcohol in my system, within 4 or 5 hours, that anxiety it was scary. James, I got to the point where this year, and this is embarrassing for me to say, but I was getting to the point where I was having suicidal thoughts when I would drink. And that scared me to death, especially having a daughter and a wife and family. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Bill. It's not uncommon. A lot of folks get themselves into a point where they start sharing that they've had suicidal thoughts as well. It's such an insidious poison, this thing, that can contribute to that. And I'm not saying that that only alcohol contributes to that, but man, it certainly pours gasoline on a fire, doesn't it? Like, if there's any kind of like kindling there or beginning of really dark, depressing thoughts, drinking alcohol can just blow that up to a level that can get to be very dangerous.
It did for me, for sure, because I never had thought of suicide until this. It was probably within the last year when and it was always when I was drinking, always.
Yeah, I thought I heard you say a couple times as well that you felt that you were drinking out of boredom. So you retired, and maybe you didn't have this day-to-day goal of work, the day-to-day hustle. Do you think that the drinking increased because of what you deemed boredom? And so you didn't have another way of staying busy or having a goal, and so you sought refuge in the drink? Do you think that has some validity?
Tenfold. Yes. That's when when I turned 50, the drinking went from 0 to 100 miles an hour. Yeah. And it was it's the structure and not having to get up in the morning, that type of thing. Yeah. By 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'd be like, well, now what? Even though I had I get everything done in the morning, working out, golfing, all that kind of stuff. But then the boredom would set in, and it would be like, I was get drunk, and boy, did I.
And it's so interesting as well that you were a pretty fit guy. Like, you're talking about working out, you became a CrossFit trainer, you're playing golf, and yet at night you would destroy yourself with this attractively packaged poison. It's so interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, my diet was locked in. I ate super healthy. I worked with a dietitian. She didn't know about my drinking. And so, yeah, you're putting in this poison and going into workouts just hungover and just awful, and then eating right. It just didn't make any. Now that I'm clear-minded, I realize how it just made no sense. It makes no sense.
Especially becoming a CrossFit trainer, where you're actually now coaching clients on how to be fit and healthy.
Yes, it was embarrassing, or I was living a lie. Yeah. I'd go in, and I was always a great coach. I always came in prepared, and I was always prepared for my clients, but I was quite often hungover or thinking about, as soon as this class is over, I'm heading over to the bar. Yeah.
Did any client ever suspect what was going on?
I don't believe so. Nobody ever said anything. So maybe they did, and I didn't realize that, and they just didn't want to say something. So I don't know. I honestly don't know.
It's curious to me, or interesting, like, your job as a federal agent was to draw out people who were hiding financial crimes. And the irony seems to me, at least, that you were hiding some kind of health or drinking crime, really.
Absolutely. And that guilt will just eat you up. And it did eat me up.
Mm. Yeah. And again, thank you for being so candid, sharing this. Hey, James here. Just a short interruption to share with you some of the results that folks have been getting inside of our 90-day stop drinking process. This is Jessica Gaines-Jarbo from Kentucky. She says, I've now got joy, focus, presence, clarity. This is Glenn Granger from Massachusetts. I'm more patient. This is Jenny Unglis from Northern Ireland. I discovered strength I didn't know I had. This is Doug Rice from Texas. I have unbelievable clarity. This is George Bird from New York. I'm calmer. And this is Russell Belcher from Australia. My health has improved. I've lost 20 pounds, says John Keltner in California. If you would like to create these type of results, then you are welcome to apply to be part of our 90-day stop drinking process, which is called Project 90. The link is in the show notes. You can go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/Project 90. Back to the show. What was your wife saying to you around this time? Was she aware of the extent of your drinking? Was she unaware?
She was aware. She might have been scared because she never really said anything. I mean, she would say things once in a while, like, trying to hide being drunk. So she'd be at work all day, and like I said, 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'd head to the bar, drink a couple beers, and then I'd come home. I was alone, a self drinker, drink by myself. And she'd come in the house and kind of look at me and she goes, "You been drinking?" No, why? Well, your eyes are all glossy. Yeah. And so I'm lying to her every single day. And she wouldn't make a big thing of it. Maybe she thought we'd get in an argument or something. I was not a mean drunk. I was a nice drunk. So I probably would have just let it go or whatever. But I think she was scared, to be honest with you. And she knew the health thing. She knew about my neuropathy. She knew about the depression. I never told her about the suicidal thoughts because I just didn't want to scare her. But yeah, she was concerned.
And your daughter, you mentioned your daughter's now 27, so she would have been, again in her mid-20s around this time. Did she know what was going on? Did she ever express any concern?
Yeah, I think so. And again, she didn't say a lot. But yeah, I think she knew. Because now I've shared the story with her. I've shared how I'm doing P90 and that kind of stuff. And yeah, so I think she knew. And, I tried to hide it, but I know I didn't. It was, yeah, she knew.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned you went to the doctor and you had some neuropathy in your feet. Can you just explain what neuropathy is and what the doctor said to you?
Yeah. So this was in about 2020, and I, like I said, I hadn't really drank for 6 to 8 months in 2019 because I was training for a competition, and then the drinking started getting really heavy about late 2019 into 2020, and I started feeling buzzing in my feet, not numb or anything, just buzzing. I thought, well, that's weird, and so I saw my doctor, and she said, well, and she knew my alcohol thing. I was always honest with her, and she always would encourage me to quit drinking and everything. But she goes, "I think you better go see a neurologist." She goes, "This is probably not something that's good." So probably mid 2020, I saw my neurologist, and he said, "You got alcoholic neuropathy, the beginnings of it." And he goes, if you continue to drink, at some point you're going to lose the feelings in your feet, and you're going to be wearing braces. He goes, if you quit drinking, you may be one of the lucky ones who it may reverse itself because you've caught it early. Well, that didn't quite resonate with me. I mean, it scared the crap out of me, but it didn't quite stop me at the time. Over the next 2 years, I would binge drink on and off. And then finally got to the point where my feet hurt all the time. Really, they felt like they were on fire. And so that's when January 1st of this year, I quit. I had a couple relapses there in February before I joined Project 90. But probably within joining Project 90 in mid-February, I would say it took about the whole 90 days, and now my feet feel great. It's gone. It won't come back as long as I don't drink. And so yeah, I got lucky. It could have stayed with me, and it could have got worse.
What did the doctor say was the correlation between drinking alcohol and the neuropathy in your feet? Like, how does it actually affect it?
I don't know if we talked about that, but what he called it was alcoholic neuropathy.
Mm.
So whatever the alcohol was doing and would be similar maybe to a type 2 diabetic where you're getting too much sugar or whatever, and you can develop the same kind of thing. I think the alcohol works, and I'm just guessing, probably works in the same way. And yeah, so I'm guessing it had to do with just the alcohol content.
Yeah. Isn't that so fascinating as well? Like, you drink enough of this stuff and literally you can't feel your feet, or you can feel your feet rather. And, there's the possibility that you'll lose the use of your feet with time. It's just such an eye-opening thing. And yet society glorifies this substance, this use of it. And yet it causes, so far you've shared with us that it's helped fuel depression, anxiety, neuropathy in your feet, lying or misleading or withholding from clients and family members. And yet, as a society, we still glorified this thing. I know I've said the word a lot, it's fascinating.
Glorifying it, even when we began P90, and a lot of the stuff we talked about was how this is poison, how it's attractively packaged poison. And at first I thought, no, it's a business. I had nothing against it. I had some good times drinking, but as I became more alcohol free, I'm not going to call myself an alcoholic. I hate that term. I'm not going to say sober. I don't like that either. It just bothers me. I love being alcohol free. And the reason I do is every day I get the power of saying, you're not coming into my body, alcohol. I'm choosing to be alcohol free. I own you. You don't own me anymore. I don't know why I got off on that tangent, but I don't like the business anymore. I'm mad at it. Yeah, I'm just angry, and now I get it. It is, to me, it's a poison. Yeah.
Why do you feel Project 90 has given you a breakthrough in relation to drinking when you compare it to what you tried previously, which was, I guess, self-discipline, willpower? You tried an outpatient clinic. You said that you hated it. You saw a counselor. You tried moderation. I mean, you tried many things before you came to us. So what was it about this Project 90 process that you feel was so different than all of the other modalities that you attempted?
Gosh, that's a great question. And I can tell you, in some, it just changed. It's the whole program works. And I guess what I mean by that is, so you learn, first of all, about the science of addiction, which really helped me a lot, but that wasn't going to be enough to make me stay alcohol free. So the other part of it was having a support group. I think that's something I was really missing, of like-minded, people who we all were in the same boat. We're all successful people, but we had this one devil in our life, and it's alcohol. And so it was really nice to be able to connect with other members in the Project 90, where we could share our stories and support each other. And it's funny, in 90 days, I've got like 3 or 4 best friends. We're already planning on going to football games together and stuff. And that, so that part has been great. The science part of it, from Coach V, Coach Sarah, and we had a couple other coaches in there. Can't remember the names off the top of my head, but they were awesome also. Learning the science part of it was just huge. And to realize, I've always thought this was about willpower. What is wrong with me? Why can't I just quit drinking? It just made no sense why I couldn't just quit. Well, I finally learned that there's a reason behind it, behind the addiction, the dopamine hits and all that. And so that science really, really resonated with me. And then finally, I really enjoyed your daily videos, because they would kind of keep me, I would learn a little bit from each of those, and it would keep me grounded. So just the whole program, the positivity, I love our positiveness in the group. We are alcohol free. Alcohol doesn't own us. We get to choose if it comes in our body. It has no control over me. at all. I get to control. Every day I make this decision. I'm not drinking anymore because you're not coming in my body. I want to be alcohol free. And I love that attitude. I fell for it hook, line, and sinker, and it worked for me.
Who were some of the other clients in our community? I don't want you to mention their names, obviously, but like what type of people, what were their profession, what age, what were some of their challenges? Just maybe describe for our listener what the community is like and who they are. Okay.
Well, everybody in the community, I don't know how many people we had in it off the top of my head, but I liked everybody. It's just weird. We all get along really good. But you sort of develop some closer relationships with people who are maybe closer in age, or maybe live in the same area of the country, or have some of the same interests. So one of my best buddies, he's a chiropractor. I don't know, I won't say what state he's in or whatever, and he's probably about mid-50s. Great guy, great attitude, same kind of drinking thing as me. Just he's always been in shape and living his life. He's a very, very successful doctor of chiropractic, but it was starting to hit him, and we've just hit it off. We talk every day, texting each other back and forth and teasing each other about our football teams and stuff. So yeah. Another really close friend is he's an occupational therapist in New York, and again, probably mid-50s. It's funny because these guys, when you first meet them, when we all first start P90, we all look bloated. Now I look at them, I'm like, wait, maybe they're 10 years younger than they were before, because their faces are like chiseled and square, and it's just from not having that poison in your body. Anyways, so he's a really close friend, and it's kind of neat because he graduated from graduate school where my daughter's going to dental school, which is kind of cool. So, we've really hit it off well. And then there's a couple, female friends that we started together and have just developed a really nice relationship. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. What do your wife and daughter say to you now? Like, what have they been saying to you, I guess, along the journey during these 90 days? And what have they said to you most recently?
So my wife more so than my daughter, because she's away. But when I started this program, I was gone for like a month because I go down south, and my wife still works, so she was still up in Wisconsin. She came down for the last couple of weeks while we were in Wisconsin, and she noticed right away. I said, do I seem like a better person? Because when I've quit before, it's always just been biting my nails, hating every minute of it. And she goes, you're different. She goes, it's night and day. And I actually felt different. Like, I didn't feel like I gave anything up. I felt like I was actually getting to live life. We would hug every day. And we've been married 38 years, but our relationship just got better. We talk. Now we go out for happy hours on Friday night. And my happy hour is a club soda with lime or some juice in it or something like that. Just I love it. I never would have thought I would. I'm like, this is awesome. And she's never been a big drinker, even though she grew up in Wisconsin, which is a big drinking state. So she'll have like a beer, and it'll take her, maybe an hour to drink it or whatever. So she just enjoys that now. Before, when I would quit, we'd go to a bar or something, and I was just miserable. I was horrible to be around. And now it's like, I enjoy it. I can talk to my friends and talk to her, and we have good conversations. I'm pretty sure with my daughter, she's really happy. I can just tell. She doesn't say much, but I can just tell she is. Yeah.
Beautiful. The name of our organization is Alcohol Free Lifestyle. The name of this podcast is Alcohol Free Lifestyle. And when I was, naming our movement and the business, I really wanted the word lifestyle in it. So I'm curious, what is an alcohol-free lifestyle to you? I'm going to guess it's not just not drinking; it's a whole host of things. So what does an alcohol-free lifestyle mean to you, Bill?
That's easy. Freedom. And I don't even think about it as not drinking. I mean, and I was a heavy drinker, professional drinker. I don't even think about that part of it. Now I have total freedom. I don't have to hide my liquor, beer or whatever. I don't have to hide that from my wife. I don't have to hide my drinking. I don't have to plan my day around trying to get everything done so that I can get drunk, so that I can sleep like crap, so I can be hungover the next day. Now I just get to live life. My afternoons are full. I get to work out. I get to go golfing. I never have a hangover. I wake up every morning at 3:30, no alarm. I just wake up. I'm able to do meditation, listen to our polos, which people might not be familiar with what those are, but that's kind of our peer group that we share in P90 and Beyond 90. And so, yeah, it's a sense of just freedom, pure freedom.
And your sleep, by all accounts, has turned into something that you might savor or look forward to and really appreciate.
I love it now. When I was drinking, I thought I was sleeping. I'd usually pass out about 7:30, 8 o'clock. I thought I was falling asleep. I'd be out until about midnight. And then, boom, like clockwork, I'd wake up with just horrible, horrible anxiety. And I couldn't sleep. I thought I was sleeping, but it'd be like little 5-minute stints. And then I'd be awake and horrible anxiety that would go on until 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. And then I'd kind of maybe sleep until about 8 or whatever you want to call it. It wasn't really sleep, be hungover. Now I go to bed. It's still light out. I don't even close the shades. It's 7:30. I kind of have a weird sleeping cycle, but I fall asleep at 7:30 I don't need any sleep medication. I don't need anything. I just fall asleep and I wake up bright eyed at 3:30 without even trying. I just wake up. And it's awesome. I'm never tired. My sleep, I've actually been keeping, you have one of those, I have a little sleep thing that keeps track of my sleep. And every night I'm getting like high sleep score because I'm sleeping so well. So yeah, that was a big thing for me.
And it feels like you're not depriving yourself of anything by being alcohol free. It sounds like you're now speaking in a way where you realize that you're getting something.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't feel like I'm depriving myself at all. The only time that I feel a little bit sad about the whole alcohol thing. So this journey's been, just to step back a little bit, has been, since starting P90, has been easy and hard. The easy part has been choosing to be alcohol free every day. It's so easy. It's simple. It's not even, I've never really had to be hard ever. The hard part is you're giving up something that you've had your entire life. So thinking of never drinking again is hard. Even though the experience of drinking is awful. So what I've just kind of decided to do is I'm just going to take it one day at a time. And I put this on my last polo when I was in Project 90. I said, I'm going to have a drink when I'm 88 years old. So I'm 62 right now. The reason I picked 88 is my dad's 88 years old. He'll occasionally have a beer. And I thought, okay, that gives me 20 some years. And then if I remember, if I'm not sitting in a home or something, I'll have my beer. And if I don't remember, then, well, I forgot about it and I'm still alcohol free. So yeah, I don't feel like I've given up anything.
Yeah. Terrific. Amazing. And just finally, Bill, if someone is listening to this like you were as you were driving to see your parents in Rapid City, South Dakota, and you listened to 8 straight hours of the AFL podcast with your dog, I think you had it at the time, is that right?
Yeah.
What would you say to someone who might be listening now, doing their own drive, doing their own run, listening to this in the background as they're cleaning their home or whatever it is that they're doing? What would you say to them if they're, pondering having a better relationship with alcohol, irrespective of whether they join us in Project 90 or they do it some other way? Like, what would be your message to them?
It's worth becoming alcohol free. Life is so much better. It's not like every day is perfect. I still got to have the feelings I feel, like, sadness when you have a sad day, happiness when you have a happy day, but it is so worth being alcohol free. I don't want to live in the past. I wish I would have done this when I was 30 years old. I didn't. So I'm just going to go forward now. And if you're thinking you want to try it, hey, you have nothing to lose. You can always drink again if you want.
Yeah. We wouldn't encourage you to do that, but that is true. I mean, I guess if that gets someone over the line on taking, the step, whatever that first step is, then that's a great thing. Because I tell you, I have not committed to never drinking again. And some people feel surprised by that. I mean, I haven't drunk now since 2010, so it's 13 and a half years as we're recording this. And I've never declared I'll never drink again. The only thing I declare is that I've had a life with alcohol and a life without, and without is way better. And I suspect I won't drink again, but I'm not putting this pressure on myself by declaring I never will. And I don't even think about it. I mean, I think about it in the sense that this is the business and the movement that we've created here, and I'm in the conversation every day. But in terms of myself and should I drink, should I not drink, that feeling left me many, many years ago. So, Bill, thank you so much for sharing your story so candidly. Really appreciate that. Like I said previously, I'm sure there are people listening who are inspired by hearing your story. And I want to congratulate you for the immense progress and momentum that you've created. And also I want to thank you for being such a positive support for other members inside of our Project 90 program. It's not just about getting the coaching and getting support. It's also about giving the support and giving coaching to others. And you give coaching to others just by simply opening up and sharing your story, which gives them permission to open up and share their story, which collectively helps everyone. So I thank you for that, sir.
Can I just say a couple words? First of all, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Like I told you a couple weeks ago when we talked on the phone, you get to rest your head at night. Every single night you go to bed knowing that you might have saved one life. Well, you saved my life, and I thank you for that from the bottom of my heart. Anybody thinking of being alcohol-free, I'll tell you it's worth every minute of it. I would have never shared my story like this 90 days ago. Being part of this group opened me up to be vulnerable. It's still hard to do, but it feels good. And thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Bill. That was Bill Cunningham, 62, retired federal agent, husband and father from Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you on the next one. James Swanwick here again. Thank you so much for listening to the show. I want to send you some free stuff. If you haven't yet got the Alcohol Freedom Formula, then you can get that at alcoholfreelifestyle.com/guide. The YouTube channel is alcoholfreelifestyle.com/YouTube. I put out lots of educational videos on my Instagram page at James Swanwick. You can also find me on TikTok at James Swanwick. If this show has benefited you, I would so appreciate you leaving a review and giving it 5 stars. We have a 5-day no alcohol challenge, a 30-day no alcohol challenge. You can get details over at alcoholfreelifestyle.com. And if you would like to apply to be part of Project 90, which is our flagship process where you get a community, 7 coaching calls per week are available to you, a like-minded community, mostly folks in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, then you are welcome to apply. You can get all the details over at alcoholfreelifestyle.com/Project 90, and the details are in the show notes. Thank you again for listening. I will catch you on the next one.